Trump's taking the gloves off. For too long, the early Trump attorneys' piece of legal advice was bend over and hand Robert Mueller the Vaseline. Turn over everything. Waive all executive privilege. Give Mueller millions and millions and millions of privilege.
Make him God. Let him violate all these laws.
Right. Ignore his use of material from FISA warrants, which is still the linchpin of this whole scandal. What Rosenstein struggles to cover up today, what is being used to harass me and Paul Manafort and others. So this tells me Trump is going to war. It is essential the American people know who and what Mr. Mueller is. It is not us claiming this. You can go online, look at the terrific story by Howie Carr about how Robert Mueller, as U.S. attorney, let 3 Italian men rot in a jail who he knew had nothing to do with a mob murder there in order to cover up for paid mafia informants who worked for Whitey Bulger. That's extraordinary.
Let me give you the biggest news concerning the fight with the deep state that I have covered in a long, long time. I've got a lot of good contacts inside Trump world at the highest levels. And now that Kelly is receding towards being put out to pasture, those contacts have been heating up and have been particularly revealing. So let me give you bombshell, first look information with myself and Roger Stone right now. It's on Infowars.com. It's on Newswars.com. I've tweeted it out as well. It's a Paul Joseph Watson story. I relayed the information directly to him. Trump to go after Mueller for 9/11 Saudi cover-up. Now, you'll remember in January of this year, here is the Leanne McAdoo report on that. Next year's news today, or the news of 6 months from now today. Mueller's 9/11 cover-up connection. There's Leanne McAdoo's report on that. And it's been in local Florida papers and other places that Mueller ordered the cover-up that Congress knew. FBI found direct ties between 9/11 hijackers and Saudis living in Florida. Congress kept it dark. That's all the stuff we covered, how they got bin Laden out of the country, how they protected him, and who gave the orders in the Justice Department to do that. This goes to the Clintons, the Bushes, the Muellers, the Comeys, the entire deep state. Okay? So that is all about to come out. And so when you see some of the families of 9/11 victims on Tucker Carlson saying Mueller ordered that we couldn't have our lawsuit, he shut it down, he had the FBI not release the information, that is just the doorway to this. And so what I'm relaying to you is Trump, regardless of what the deep state does, is going to bring everything out. But he had to first get some Supreme Court justices in, turn the economy around, show everybody he was real. And now he's preparing to not drain the swamp, but basically napalm it. Carpet bomb it. I mean, I don't know what you want to call this, but I have been told that this is the gateway to the traction. That's how Trump does it. He enters it at one irrefutable point that they covered up what happened on 9/11, that they blocked the lawsuits, that Mueller was the guy that quarterbacked all that, and then he quarterbacked the entire cover-up, brought in 2 days after 9/11. And that it goes into Saudi Arabia, it goes into the Bushes, it goes into the Clintons, who set it up beforehand, it goes into Saudi Arabia, Al-Qaeda, and Trump has them dead to rights. He has all the documents, he has all the admissions, and he's letting them know, I have the ace of spades. So just like Trump back, and we'll pull the clip up, during one of the debates told Jeb Bush, yeah, your brother did a terrible job on 9/11 standing down. The next day, he dropped out. So we're going to play that clip coming up. The media criticized Trump. Trump famously called into CNN a week after 9/11 and said, boy, those buildings sure felt strange, like there was bombs in them. He wanted everything on record that he knew. So, deep state working with radical criminal Islam, involved in 9/11, the stand down, all of it, the CIA building, Building 7 getting blown up. Trump is preparing and wants you to know and wants us to know, and I am the individual that is supposed to say the super hard, dangerous things up front. I'm very honored. I've asked for that position. It's a very honorable position, very dangerous position. But yeah, there's the video. Donald Trump, 9/11, bombs exploded in the WTC towers. Boom. So Trump's very smart, laying his breadcrumbs to the point where he could turn around and go after him. He knows everything about this. So I bring you now for this segment, the next Roger Stone. Roger, I don't think we can hype this enough, how big this is and how huge this is. I called you last night at 10:30 after I got off the phone and then received the information. You said that you were getting concurrent info, and this is just the beginning of Trump's big rollout, his ace of spades. I mean, would you call this, the economy's his real ace of spades, and telling the truth is his ace of spades. But when it comes to devastating the deep state, this torpedo, this black arrow into the heart of smog, I mean, this is what needs to be done for justice, but it's also must strike complete fear into the deep state.
Well, I think the president has now only fully become aware of the extent of Robert Mueller's disastrous record as FBI director. It is indisputable that he systematically ignored multiple reports about a Sarasota, Florida flight school where 5 of 9 Saudi hijackers were training for the assault on America on 9/11. There were multiple complaints from neighbors about strange activities among these men who, according to flight instructors, showed an amazing interest in how to fly and take off, but no interest in how to land. This was reported to Jeb Bush's Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the same thing as the state police in, say, Louisiana or the Texas Rangers there in Texas, who complained repeatedly to the FBI, sent reports to the FBI, which Robert Mueller systematically ignored. So his role as being complicit in the cover-up of 9/11 is demonstrable. The president himself is going to ultimately make the case, but it's the tip of the iceberg in terms of this quote-unquote public servant who Lindsey Graham describes as beyond reproach. The first 3 suspects he arrested in the anthrax matter were the wrong men. The 4th man he ultimately arrested died mysteriously in custody. There is no question that he let 3 innocent men rot in a Boston jail in order to cover up FBI mafia informant sources in the Whitey Bulger matter. He had Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted pedophile, on the FBI hook as an informant, which explains why Epstein was always able to escape more serious charges such as child trafficking.
That's right. Robert Mueller is confirmed to be the main handler of the main child trafficking. You heard it here first. We'll be back. Telling Jeb Bush, you better watch it, buddy, after what you did standing down in Florida and after what your brother did in D.C., and now Trump is preparing to start releasing the fact that the deep state was complicit working with radical Islam to carry out 9/11. Here's the president.
Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake, all right? Now, you can take it any way you want, and it took Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced for president, took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. Took him 5 days before his people told him what to say, and he ultimately said it was a mistake. The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the 2nd largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake. So George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But so you still think he should be impeached?
I think it's my turn, isn't it?
You do whatever you want. You call it whatever you want. I want to tell you, they lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
All right. Governor.
And there's another clip, too, with him saying, you screwed up on 9/11. You stood down in Florida. Your brother stood down. You guys did a terrible job. We're going to get that clip for you as well. We've also got the clip coming up in the next segment where he talks about bombs in the buildings. So, again, this is really, really serious. The point is, Tucker Carlson has on some of the families where Mueller, on record, basically killed the investigation, didn't let them have the info to sue. And if you expand on that, we have the article on Infowars.com, Trump to go after Mueller for 9/11 Saudi cover-up. President about to drop the hammer on former FBI director for burying Saudi involvement in the attacks, as Roger Stone just mentioned. But this is coffin nails. This is kryptonite to the deep state, Roger. And again, the specific thing that I want to relay to everyone is, the exclusive here is, this is only the beginning of what Trump is going to start releasing. And he's the president. He has the right to declassify anything he wants. And he's letting them know, let's just say folks are letting them know that that's going on. So what does that signify? What do you make of this development that this is starting and that folks want the deep state to know we're coming for them?
Well, I think the president is building the backfire necessary to terminate the partisan inquisition being led by Robert Mueller. I mean, that story in yesterday's or the day before's New York Times about Rod Rosenstein, who very clearly wrote a memo to the president advocating the firing of FBI Director Comey, did not think it would be made public. Trump, as it is prerogative, made it public. This embarrassed Rosenstein in front of his deep state buddies, where he was trying to have it both ways. He is furious at Trump, and his payback is the appointment of Robert Mueller. It is as clear as day. So he is acting in his self-interest. He has conflicts in that he has gotten his first job from Mueller. He has conflicts in that he approves the FISA warrant personally. He's more conflicted in this case than Jeff Sessions is. He needs to stand down or be terminated. So I think the president is laying the ground for the termination of what is a partisan witch hunt. People need to know more about Mr. Mueller. He is not the white knight that Lindsey Graham and others in the mainstream media have portrayed. His role during and after the 9/11 matter needs to be examined. The fact that he is the man who mules the uranium specimens to Stockholm to close the deal for Uranium One at behest of the Clintons shows that he is a bipartisan leg man for the deep state, and he is complicit, therefore, in the largest treasonous financial crime in terms of dollars in American history.
And it's attempting to overthrow a duly elected president when we have the FBI Justice Department conspiracy to keep him from getting elected. Then they try to stop him from getting in. They tried to not let the delegates be seated. Then they've been waging war against him, his whole family, you and I. Roger, I'll tell you, I called you last night about it. I've discovered whole new next level. Democratic Party has been caught red-handed in my personal life trying to actually wreck my family again. I mean, there is no end to these people. I've got to sue them now. There's just, they are so diabolical. They are so crazed. And then they use Aleister Crowley as the Democratic Party operating system. I mean, these people are beyond anything you could ever imagine.
It is really, really extraordinary. But what it tells me is Trump's taking the gloves off. For too long, the early Trump attorneys' piece of legal advice was bend over and hand Robert Mueller the Vaseline. Turn over everything. Waive all executive privilege. Give Mueller millions and millions and millions of privilege.
Make him God. Let him violate all these laws.
Right. Ignore his use of material from FISA warrants, which is still the linchpin of this whole scandal. What Rosenstein struggles to cover up today, what is being used to harass me and Paul Manafort and others. So this tells me Trump is going to war. It is essential the American people know who and what Mr. Mueller is. It is not us claiming this. You can go online, look at the terrific story by Howie Carr about how Robert Mueller, as U.S. Attorney, let 3 Italian men rot in a jail who he knew had nothing to do with a mob murder there in order to cover up for paid mafia informants who worked for Whitey Bulger. That's extraordinary.
And now the president is telegraphing that he's going to start releasing the cover-up, the stand-down of 9/11 that implicates the Bushes, Mueller, who ran the cover-up itself, and the Clintons. because we know Trump is really upset behind the scenes that it's the Bushes and their syndicate that are more effectively fighting his agenda than even the Democrats right now. And Chuck Todd now has come out and said President Trump is winning, Democrats reeling, close quote. So Trump now knows who to target, doesn't he, Roger?
Well, look, the poll that I would like to see, which nobody has taken, there is a new poll that shows the two top frontrunners of the Democratic Party. Old, tired, sick, and bereft of ideas, but still just as greedy, Hillary Clinton. And Uncle Joe Biden, a man who is literally around the bend, a guy who keeps going around threatening physical violence against Donald Trump, when in fact Trump's got 20 pounds on him, a much longer reach, and in my opinion could put Joe out in one shot. One shot, just an opinion. So these are their nominees. I'd like to see them stacked in a legitimate poll, Trump versus Hillary, Trump versus Biden for 2020, and I think you'd find the president would crush both of them. If he ran against Hillary again tomorrow, he would crush her by a larger margin.
And that's why Michael Moore panicked. He went on Bill Maher this weekend and said, we've got to have an uprising. 1 million people surround the Capitol. Don't let the new Supreme Court pick in. And he goes, because Trump's going to win in 2020. And America's coming back, right, and they are crapping their britches.
No, and they're absolutely right. We need to have an uprising. Circle their circle around the Capitol, demanding a Supreme Court justice who believes in the rule of law. Be there. Surround their surrounding. That's my view.
Let's do a few more minutes. I want to play this clip of Trump talking about 9/11 and then ask you a few other key questions straight ahead with Roger Stone. I'm Alex Jones.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
You're a white man! You're a white man!
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This 4th of July is special. Everybody can see it. They can feel it. The globalists are attempting to kill a worldwide awakening to their tyranny. And America, yet again, is at the heart of the resistance to the globalist. That's why this 4th of July, I'm asking all of our great supporters to think about InfoWars now more than ever. And what would the world be like if InfoWars wasn't there resisting the globalists? What would have happened if you hadn't supported InfoWars? We would not be having the victories we have today. So yes, a lot of good things are happening, but the enemy is striking back. So please, think about InfoWars and funding our operation while you get great products at the same time on this 4th of July that's so historic. We have record sales going on right now, free shipping on hundreds of different items. More than 20 items are 50% off, like Brain Force Plus, X2 is 40% off, Knockout Sleep Aid, $17.76, Silver Bullets, $9.95 colloidal silver, and free shipping. You can't beat that. This 4th of July is special, and our sales are special to match it. InfoWarsStore.com.